All right, this story is called From Pong to Pacman, My Video Game Journey. Well, the first video game that I can remember was a game called Pong, and it came out around 1972. I think it was a game by Atari, and it was just a very simple game. I think it just the ball would go back and forth on the screen. You would move your cursor and to where you could hit the ball back to the other player and back and forth. You can't get much simpler than that. And I remember playing it with my friend Randy at the time. I think it was over at his house. He had it. So that was my very first experience with video games. It wasn't until around 1980 when multiple games come out for the first time. Now, Pacman was the one that I would eventually become an expert in playing it. At the time, I was living in Fort Stockton when that came out. And there was a store, kind of like maybe a 7-Eleven or something like that store I would go to. So on my breaks or maybe after work, I'd go and they had a Pacman machine in there and I would play that game. Stick my quarter in and off we go. And there was one of the workers at the store who also played it, and she helped me. So she showed me a few things. She helped me learn how to play it. And eventually, I got better and better and better at it, and I got so good that I could put a quarter in and I could play for half an hour without any problem whatsoever. And you'd get to the point to where, I don't know, it'd reach a point to where your Pacman got slower than the little ghosts that were chasing you, and the odds were starting to go against you then, and you'd eventually die off at that point. It was very, very tough to get it after a certain point. Anyway, this game would eventually lead me to meet Shelley, who I would later marry, and that was like June of 1981. So if the game came out in 1980, it only took me a year to get that good, I guess, huh? Anyway, now there were other games that I played that came out during that time. Missile Command, that was a lot of fun. You had cities you defend, and these missiles would come, and you did all your best to shoot those missiles out of the sky and save your cities, right? There's another game called Berserk that I played. Battlezone, Phoenix, Space Invaders, Asteroids. There are a lot of crazy games. Battlezone was another one I like to play. Phoenix, Frogger, Defender. Defender was just totally nuts. Most craziest game. Just they had a they had a button where things get so crazy you knew you were about to lose. You had a button that you could press and it would hyper shoot you somewhere else, and you'd show up somewhere else in the game, and you had at least had another chance before you got killed. And then another game called Centipede, that was totally berserk nuts. Just talk about action packed. That one was wild and crazy. Another game I like to play was Tempest. That was another crazy game to play. Totally crazy. Galaga was another one. Donkey Kong, Tron, Dig Dug. Those were, in addition to playing the Pacman, all those were games I like to play. When I got married with Shelley, there were some games that we liked to play together, and one of those is called Rampage. And we would play monsters, rampage in the city, and we're destroying buildings and all this good stuff. It was a lot of fun. Another game we liked playing together was called Make Tracks. Now, you could control a paintbrush, and you paint paths that within a maze, and then the game would have these little things that would come out and put footprints on your freshly painted deal that you did. And some of the things that would come out would be a cat or a bird that leave footprints, or a playful kitten, a mouse, a dirty bird, a runaway tire, dancing cat, an invisible man. And you're just trying to paint all this up so you can go to the next level, but these little critters keep coming out and messing up your paint job. Anyway, that's called Paint Tracks. So that's just kind of a rough story of my video games.